Have you ever tried to secure a lending deal only to be told that your rates were too high? One of the most common objections that I have people tell me they are getting when they're trying to get into the transactional lending game. Well, today I'm going to tell you guys a couple stories about the very topic that I think are going to help you understand why I personally never compromise what I charge and my rates, and why I've learned that that's exactly what I should be doing, and I will continue to not compromise those things for any reason. So here's how it goes. The other day I had somebody reach out to me, and some of you guys, most of the people watching this probably know, I help teach people how to go find these deals, and then I JV with them to help make sure that they are confident and comfortable on the safety aspect of things, and then I fund the deals so that they don't have to come up with the money, right? So I had somebody the other day come to me, and they were like, hey, I've got this deal. The person is looking to get it funded ASAP, but they're not cool with the 40% return on the earnest money. They want to see if you can beat it, and to spice things up a little bit, they already have what they called a solid lender at 40%, right? So they already had a solid lender at 40%. They were coming to this guy saying, hey, can you beat that rate? And so that person reached out to me and said, hey, I've got this good deal. It's a large EMD, a lot of potential profit. I always call that potential profit. Rarely turns into profit, but a lot of potential profit on this deal. What can we do? And I said, ooh, yeah, well, as you guys know, I don't compromise on my prices, so no, I'm not going to lower my price. So he said, well, what should I tell him? I was like, all right, well, you can't tell them that we're going to go down on price, but what you can tell them is that nobody's going to beat the systems that I have. Nobody's going to beat the speed that I have. Nobody has the funding that I have with the team that I have to be able to fund all of your deals both now and in the future. So if you want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, we're available. If you'd like to go with the other guy, that's great. I use that all the time, and it works incredibly well. However, they had already mentioned that they had somebody really solid that they were working with. So the cool thing is that if you have enough leads, then you don't have to worry about that, right? If they already had somebody that was funding it, you don't have to compromise. You just say, cool, go work with that person. Now, why is it so important not to compromise? Well, it's important because we're not racing to the bottom, right? There are certain industries where you do literally race to the bottom. And the way that you can race to the bottom and win, at least from what I've seen, is companies like Walmart that are huge establishments, tons of employees, can buy in bulk, lower their costs, whatever. Clearly, I am not Walmart by any stretch of the imagination. Small business, right? And so we're not racing to the bottom. We're not trying to see who can charge the least. I'm trying to establish a business where I have predictable income, where I can hire people, where I can build a brand and make a name for myself. And so I'm not competing with other people's prices by any means. What am I doing instead? Well, I'm competing with their ability to do what they say they're going to do, right? Whether it's true or not, I'm going to make the assumption that nobody can do what I do better than I can. Why? Because it allows me to go out and push myself to be the best version of myself and to build the best version of my business that I possibly can. So I'm not compromising on what I charge. And I would charge the same thing to you guys, and if you listen to the rest of the story, I think you'll know why. So I told them exactly what I just said. Sorry, can't go down on the price. However, I doubt that you're going to find somebody more effective and more helpful than we are when it comes to this stuff. So send that email out. A little bit later, they reach back out to me and say, hey, so I heard back from this person that was trying to get us to drop our rate. And this is where this story gets funny. The person that was trying to get us to drop their rate, the solid lender that they already had, was me. They were trying to go around me and go find somebody that could do it for cheaper. They connected with somebody who, funny enough, worked with me to try and lower my rate. So it's a little funny, but why is that so important? If I had been quick to just lower my costs, right, and say, yeah, you know what, we'll just do it at a lower rate. Well, I could go. Well, I guess it's kind of the point of this video to go into all the reasons why I wouldn't do that. So a big one is that if I lower my rate for them once, then the expectation is that I'm going to keep my rate low for them in the future, right? Another one is that they're going to tell their friends that I lowered the rate. So once I drop my rate, it just lowers the baseline of expectations for my business. That's one of the big reasons why I won't do it. But in this scenario, if I had lowered my rate, I literally would have bid myself down. It feels like a joke. It's like when you're doing a silent auction and it's like, I don't know, you're bidding on it and your wife's bidding on it or something. Like you're literally bidding yourself up, right? In this case, it would be bidding yourself down. But at the same point, you're losing money, right? So I literally came this close. Well, not really because I didn't do it, but the scenario had presented itself where I could have literally bid myself down on my own return, which is hilarious because they were shopping me against me in the transaction. So that is why you don't want to lower your rates for anybody. And that's just one example, right? I could give you guys multiple. Let's talk about another one. So another big one, when people come to me and say, oh, you charge too much. Well, first of all, my response is always the same, right? I already told you guys what my response was. So I had somebody recently that came to me. This was not a referral. This was a direct request. And they came to me and said, hey man, need you to fund this deal. I talked to them, got the details for the deal. We talked about the rate. They said, oh, I can't do that. I said, cool, all good. And then sometimes I sprinkle a little dust in there to give them something to think about, you know? So I said, hey, look, here's the deal. You're gonna go work with somebody else and they're gonna charge you less money. And if you've been in the world longer than, I don't know, a couple seconds, you know that when people charge less money, it's because they don't do a good enough job, right? Rates are a direct correlation to the job being done. Yes, I recognize that's not always 100% true, but that's generally fair, right? If you have a contractor, let's say you get 3 contractor bids to work on your house, and you've got one really low one, a medium one, and a high one. Well, the reality is the really low one, the odds of that being better than the high priced one are basically 0. However, a common thing to do in that scenario, if you're in the real estate world, is to go with the middle one, right? You get the middle pricing, you get still pretty decent service. That's the goal. Kind of the same vibes that I get in these transactions. So I'll often drop that bomb on people and just be like, look, if you want to do the cheapest price possible, go do it. However, and then I'll just give them some warnings. I'll say, if they're charging that little, then that means that they don't have experience, right? Because I'm pretty well aware of the landscape of the transactional world at this point. So if they're charging that low, they probably don't have a lot of experience. They're probably not very confident in what's going on. And they're charging that low rate because they're trying to break into the game, just trying to make a little bit of money. One could call them a little bit desperate, right? How do I know that? Because I did it. Of course. I lowered my rates when I was getting started because I wanted to get into the game. And so I recognize other people are doing the same thing, but welcome to business. I'm still going to try and get the deal. So that's what I let people know. So again, I drop those bombs on people all the time. So they came back to me and I think it was like a week later and they said, hey, so the person that we have lined up, turns out that they aren't able to do the transaction. They don't quite have the funds lined up, blah, 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 whatever their excuse was, right? Now, when did they come to me this time? Well, the way that most people come to me with transactional lending. Desperation, last minute, deal's about to close, the world is ending, can you save us? I hate that. And most of the time I turn it away, but what's the funny silver lining here? Well, when people come to me and do that, what happens is I raise my rate. Why do I raise my rate? Because they're coming to me at the last minute, which means that if I do have the funds available, I'm gonna have to stop what I'm doing and spend time rescuing them from a situation that I already told them was gonna happen. So I'm gonna raise my rate, and not only are they gonna go from what I was originally charging them, but now they're getting extra money added on top of that for the rush and the pain and whatever stress that they're causing me because they didn't listen. So what would have been the best case scenario for them if they listened to the guy who knew what they were doing in the first place? Now, I don't ever want people to just take my word for stuff, but I think at this point, I probably have a decent track record to back up what I'm saying, right? You can go on social media, you can check it out on the YouTube channel, you can go on Skool, you can see that I'm doing what I say I'm doing, at least I think I am. I try to post as much of what I'm doing as possible. So you can see that I'm doing what I say I'm doing, so if they looked me up, they could have had the proof, right? They could have been like, oh yeah, this guy does know what he's doing, he teaches other people how to lend money, probably a good chance. Now, you may not be in that exact same position, but the same principles apply, right? And these are all just examples I want to use for you guys to understand that this is why I don't drop my rates. Now, when I say I don't drop my rates, your rate is up to you. Like if you're lending money, you're in control. So it's an arbitrary number. It could be 5%, it could be 500%. It doesn't matter what the rate is. It just matters that you have made a determination, maybe not forever, but for now that that's the rate that you're willing to go down to. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't charge less than me or you shouldn't charge more than me. I don't care what you charge. I want you to get deals. That's why I do these videos. I want you to get deals and make money and be successful. And so you can charge whatever the heck you want, but you just need to be clear on what that actually is so that you can make sure that you are sticking to your guns and not doing anything crazy here. Now, to close this thing out, I've given you a couple of examples of why you should not drop your rates. I've shown you what it looks like in my business and some of the ways that I overcome those objections. However, if I was to summarize a solution for people wanting you to drop your rates and you struggling with that decision and trying to understand the best way to approach it, here's my solution. You need more leads. This has been true in every business I've been a part of, so I'm pretty convinced that it's the case, and it's absolutely true in my lending business now. If you only have one deal come through a month, and it is, let's say, a deal that you're dependent on, you need that money, whatever, which, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're lending, please do not ever, especially when you're getting started, rely on the money from lending to pay for anything. It should be mailbox money until you get things dialed in and have a business. Side note. But for whatever reason, you've only got one deal coming in a month. Well, now you're gonna be a lot more stressed and you're gonna be pushed to try and do anything you can to make that money, which means that you're gonna bend on the principles that you shouldn't be bending on. You might get rushed, you might get pushed around, and that is not only where you can screw up your business, but where you can lose your money entirely if you're not being careful. So, solution, get more leads. Go from 1 lead a month to 50 leads a month. And you might be like, oh, that sounds crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, but I certainly have way more than 50 leads a month coming in. And as you guys know, I've only been doing this for a year now, a little over a year now. So it's totally possible. And what happens when you do that? Well, you become a lot more level-headed, right? It goes from this is the only transaction to I'll have another transaction coming in an hour from now. And so if this one doesn't fit in, they're trying to argue me down, whatever, they can head out and I'll just jump to the next one. And if you have more leads, you don't have to worry about that stuff. So if you're somebody that's been trying to get pushed around, they're trying to get you to drop down your rates, you do whatever the heck you want if it's your money. But I just want to let you know that dropping those rates is not going to solve your problems. In fact, it's probably going to create more problems. If you want to learn more about transactional lending, I've got a free group on Skool. First link in the description. Jump in there and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.